Welcome to the No Pants Show, everybody. I'm Susan Rook Diattore, and as we are approaching the witching hour, Halloween, it is perfectly appropriate that we bring to you here at the No Pants Nation two women who are rocking the YouTube world with their own YouTube channel, and it was born out of passion, but it's also a really fabulous business opportunity. So, Jessica Colonel, Jess, and Melinda Prince, welcome. Tell us about Nightmare Nocturna.
Well, Nightmare Nocturne, originally, like you said, came from passion. One day I was listening to the Lore podcast with Aaron Mahnke, and actually it was a series of days I was listening. I was like, you know what? I'm already part of a group that I do this, with YouTube and podcasts. I was like, I can do this on my own. I already know. So I came up with, the whole scary stories thing, and then started planning it out. And then of course, my best friend is also into the same stuff as me. So I asked her if she wanted to join me in this.
And your best friend, I heard earlier, was moving. So Jess, come in and talk to us about moving and doing this and sort of the personal motivation.
Oh, for sure. So back in May, I moved from Colorado to Sugar Hill, Georgia. Giant culture shock.
I bet. I used to live in Atlanta, by the way, so yeah.
Oh, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And backstory, in all my freelance stuff, I taught myself how to use WordPress by building my own website. And so I built a website for fun, and it was a paranormal website. So I've collected ghost stories and done scary stuff for forever. So when Melinda called me up and was like, hey, I want to do this YouTube channel with scary stories where we're going to read them on air. Do you want to do it with me? And I was like, yes, I do. And for us, really, above everything else, it's a way to maintain our friendship and, still do lots of stuff together, even though I live on the backside of nowhere now.
So this is one of the things that I see runs through the thread of every single freelancer. You come up with a great idea. Freelancing and working for yourself is a fantastic idea. And everybody says, oh, you get to make your own hours. That's fantastic. But if, as a freelancer, if I don't work, I don't get paid. You make your own hours, but sometimes you end up doing more hours. With the job, there's a structure. I go to my job a certain amount of time. I get paid a certain amount of money. That's the agreement. It's not that with freelancing. So I'm looking for ways that people kind of get over that hump of, gosh, I really want to do this. And then when the reality hits, there's something to pull you over. And I'm kind of seeing that this and your connection sort of pulls you to continue working on it. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, like we both have said, this was definitely a passion project. And we were talking just the other day about how the nuts and bolts of all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that our fans and subscribers never see, to be perfectly honest, a lot of the time isn't fun at all.
Can I just mention something? This is why we're not doing, speaking of not fun, this is why we're not doing it live.
Right.
The technology of Zoom was uncooperative. It would record, but it wouldn't let us go live. So this is why we're not live in the No Pants Open community. And I know there's a bunch of people in there who are really not happy. And I'm not happy. And sometimes, gosh, stuff just happens.
Oh, no, absolutely. And that actually brings up a really good point that just happened to us last week. Melinda, if you want to talk about our live stream.
Okay, so
what happened?
Excuse me, I got a little excited and I inhaled my spit. So last week's video did not end up. No, it wasn't even last week's. It was 2 weeks ago, right, Jess?
Yeah, 2 weeks. I'm sorry. Whoops.
Actually, it was 2 weeks of issues. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I was trying to record some H.P. Lovecraft, the Outsider, which is one of my very favorite stories. So the first time I'm doing it, it's about an hour's worth of recording because, you know, you have to take multiple takes. And then I realized that my mic isn't plugged in. Gosh. So I go upstairs, I do whatever, and then I go back down and record. But mind you, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I have to go to my job in the morning at 9 a.m. I have to mom, take the kids to school. And then my heart just wasn't in it. And so I'm editing it, and I was like, you know what? If I'm not in it, nobody else is going to be in it. So I made the decision, like, no content is better than bad content. And so Jess actually agreed and said, let's do a live Q&A, which worked out really well. And then last week, not of our issue, YouTube decided to glitch our upload. So this video that I worked on that should actually be probably like bypassing all of our other videos has 11 views because I had to take it down and re-upload it. And even though it was uploaded, when you shared the link, you didn't get the thumbnail. And if you are aware of YouTube links, you always want to look at the thumbnail, and that's your eye catcher to see if you want to go to it. So now we're at 11 views. And I think it might hurt us. We lost a subscriber today because of it, I think.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll make it up.
Exactly.
So you two are modeling some really important lessons for freelancers.
Mhm.
One, be as much of a perfectionist as you possibly can, but when all else fails, just make it work. Make it work as best as you can. Learn from it, try and do better. And, you know, sometimes there are gremlins.
That's what I call them, gremlins.
Oh, you do?
Yes, gremlins got to it.
Yeah.
So perfectionism balanced with, what would you call it?
I think that you shouldn't, you know, to use an often used cliche, don't let great get in the way of good. Don't worry about being perfect, because none of us are, none of us will ever be. Especially you want to talk about the YouTube community. My favorite YouTubers, you know, forever mess up, and I actually love it when they just embrace it and are authentic about it.
Yeah,
I'm a big YouTube fan, and I'm also a big podcast fan. And some of the side conversations are the things that make everything fun, because it's not like you're trying to see behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah, no, we've actually been talking about that because we've been talking about launching a Patreon page, and part of what we're thinking about including in it for, you know, our special Patreon subscribers would be our outtakes, because some of them are legitimately hysterical.
Oh gosh, actually our teaser trailer that we did together before Jess moved out of state, we sat in my basement on one chair in front of the green screen. So the two of us look very stiff and like not relaxed. And I don't know how many times that we had to retake it, even though we had a script that we were reading. But it was just, between the two of us, we can't be serious.
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
So talk to us about Patreon, because you have, what, nearly 700 subscribers. I subscribed. I want to say
647.
Awesome.
Which
This is what an entrepreneur knows. You know the exact stuff that you're doing.
Yep, which is pretty big. I mean, a lot of people are going to go, they only have 646 or 47 subscribers. That's not very big.
Mind you, context.
Yes, mind you, our first video came out August 24th, and our first video got 1,600 views. That is not common for a normal YouTuber at all, a small YouTuber.
No, not even a little bit. And we did not do any of the, you know, black hat marketing. We didn't pay for views. We didn't do anything. We boosted a post or two on Facebook, and that's it.
And Jessica actually suggested a slow launch. So we started posting in June on like our social platforms, and then people would slowly subscribe. But as soon as that first video came out, it was just like, I was sitting there the night that the views were going up. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a week later, and like apparently Friday night is the night for horror stories.
Absolutely. So take us through the timeline. Just the idea was in what, May? This past
It was
May?
actually the end of April.
Uh-huh.
And I think, or it was the second to end week of April that I was thinking about. And by the time I finally asked Jess, because I was like teetering on it. And then I finally just asked her because I'm like, you know, you're leaving me and I'm heartbroken.
Aw.
and then also I'm going to need help because it's a lot of work. And because she's a phenomenal writer, I knew that she would be perfect because
Aw.
yeah, the whole thing of this concept that I like created would be writing our own ghost stories, artists helping other artists, you know, just a big support community while I get to do scary stuff. So it started, I guess, really honestly, the first week of May when we both started talking, started figuring it out, got the name. I started, what else happened? Oh, I started making the intro.
Right. I think the intro came about after I left, I think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
So yeah, we put together the teaser, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what it was.
And then I left and lived in a fifth wheel while we house hunted for down here. So that's why it didn't get going any faster. So we had, you know, endless powwow phone meetings talking about, you know, which social media platforms we thought would best serve this idea. And my advice to anybody thinking about utilizing social media along with whatever their project is don't use them all. Pick maybe 2 or maybe 3 if you're really well versed in them. So like for us personally, we chose Facebook because we both live on Facebook all the time, and Instagram because with the scary story stuff. We also live on Instagram, and with how the scary stories goes, there's lots of visuals that work out well for that. We decided to skip Twitter because I love Twitter, but it's a weird place.
I feel like it's for old people. I can't. I'm sorry, but like a lot of millennials under my age range will even agree with that.
This is something perfect for any freelancer. You have to know not only who your audience is, but where they live.
Right.
Where they live, how to communicate with them, what they're looking for, and the way that they're looking for it. Right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
if, for example, you're doing a YouTube channel, if all you do is write stuff, it's not going to fly, right? It's cognitive dissonance. You've got to do videos. So you picked Facebook and Insta. I would imagine this would also be fabulous for the whole Insta stories.
Oh yeah.
I do post a lot on Insta stories.
Okay. So when you picked the platforms, how did you start posting? Did either of you, Jess, you're the marketing guru,
right,
behind this, right? So walk us through the marketing steps.
So the way it started, I mean, obviously with me living in a fifth wheel and Melinda with a full-time job.
And a herd of kids between the two of us.
Right, and we have 8 children between the two of us, so we stay busy. And
husbands.
What we started with is I utilized Canva. And like, I think at the very first post that went on Instagram was a picture I had taken back in Colorado of just a foggy tree landscape, and then used Canva to add some words to it and posted it up. And it was like, you know, the things that go bump in the night live here. And then as we started going forward, Melinda put together this creepy coming soon. It was kind of the beginnings of our intro. So we shared that. And
actually,
then,
it wasn't the beginning of our intro. It was just me doing like dead air. And like, my niece just whispering what is fear on loop over and over. And it just said creepy coming soon.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, the horror community is huge on all sorts of social media. So we definitely share, memes and silly stuff.
We have Fun Fact Fridays, occasionally Monster Mondays.
Right.
I've made some pretty horrible memes.
Oh yes, your Jeffrey Dahmer meme was fabulous.
And John Wayne Gacy. And apparently that gets a lot of attention.
Well, so Melinda took the whole controversy with the Nike thing with Colin Kaepernick, that ad that went out, and she made one for Jeffrey Dahmer and for John Wayne Gacy, and they're hysterical and they're terrible.
They're on our Instagram and Facebook, and a lot of people actually I've learned from doing that. I learned in posting on our social media, serial killer memes gets the most views on our Instagram when I look at our insights. And that's how we get a lot of profile visits, a lot of website visits, which website, let's be honest, is our YouTube. But because I found that out, I utilize that.
Okay, so you're looking at your profiles to find out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we definitely check out our insights and, check out whatever it is we can do. And our secret weapon for YouTube, and this is totally Melinda, when she told me about it, I was like, oh my goodness, how did I not know? She uses an app called TubeBuddy.
TubeBuddy.
Yeah. And it gives you like the behind the scenes insights. So like I just pulled it up. And
that's what I'm doing right now.
It shows our recent uploads and how many views we have and
our milestones.
Yep, and our milestones.
And it's also really great as well because I'm part of a lot of Facebook groups on YouTube. So it's a lot of people promoting, sharing, helping others. Like it's a nice little forum. I'm part of, honestly, I'm part of 5, but 3, maybe 2. Actually, I'm going to say 2 are the only ones that I really go to because everybody in the community isn't doing a whole sub for sub, which is cheating technically on YouTube and against the rules where you subscribe to a person's channel and then you subscribe for them and then like you have to watch. I don't know. I got yelled at one day for doing that when we aren't doing that.
Yeah, somebody was super unhappy that we had used this multi-pronged, social media approach to get our stuff out. And they were convinced that we were totally cheating YouTube for views.
Which I had my proof.
So you have to know not just the environment, but how to play within the rules.
Exactly.
Amazon, like the authors in their Kindle book section, there was a huge controversy about authors that were boosting their books up to #1 and it was all a scam and how to do it and stuff like that. And I think, people
haters gonna hate.
Your views are legitimate, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I had screenshots and of course I'm sending them showing because multiple people started doing it. And then when I sent my screenshots, they're like, oh, I apologize, but the one would not apologize because I'm like, just eat crow, buddy. Like that's all you have to do. But it went from very professional to, okay, now you're making me angry and I'm going to get catty. And I'm like, he's like, but that's not possible. I was like, it is if your content doesn't suck. And mind you, I am screenshotting all of these and sending them to Jessica.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect. So
sometimes the professional veneer falls off.
You're right.
So it's okay to be that way.
In mid-May, you're with Canva. You're making the promo graphics. You're starting up. You launch in soft launch the end of June.
Right. So Melinda made our intro and went ahead and put that on Facebook, on YouTube, which we shared everywhere, of course. And then just continuing to interact via social media.
It was actually our teaser trailer. That came out July 3rd because we were sitting there trying to figure out, again, be consistent with everything. So we want to be, Fridays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is my time. We set it out. And then, so that gave like more than a month of anticipation. Like everybody was like, you're going to leave us on a 2-month hiatus. It's like, yep.
Yes, we are.
There's actually comments about that.
That's so smart. So was it ever tempting for you to launch early?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
we had lots of conversations about that. And with my website, my paranormal website that I ran, I went back and looked at all the insights and analytics from that, and I told her, I'm like, no one cares about scary stuff until the end of August. Like that's when the views always go up every year. So end of August is when we're doing it, period. Because if we do it too early, then we might miss our best chance to be noticed and seen. And so that's ultimately why we waited till the end of August. And then I used Canva once again, and my super fantastic iPhone photo skills, and made a few graphics for Instagram and Facebook. It was a countdown.
Yeah,
to how
I'm
many
glad
days
you
were
did
left.
because I had no time to do that at all. And I dropped the ball on the one more day, and I was like, I need you to figure this out. And when she just on a whim delivered, and it was fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing what you can do with a camera timer and, you know, a black and white filter. I literally set the timer on my iPhone and set it on the floor in my bedroom, and then went and hid in my closet and just had my hand hanging onto the closet door. So it looked like I was being dragged into the closet. And then on Canva, I added one more day and posted it the day before our first video dropped.
That's brilliant.
And Melinda was like, how did you put the hand there? I was like, that's my hand. She's like, that's you?
I thought it was a sticker. I was like, wait, where am I? Like, why don't I have Canva? I do Photoshop. But I'm also an Android user, so.
Well, see, that's why you can't use Canva, because it's for iPhone users. That's okay.
So I've got a tip for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Look up Cinemagraph.
Okay.
It is you take a 1-minute video
Mm-hmm.
and it freezes the video, and you get a 10-second loop of action. And you can have the action happening like inside of a cup or
Oh, that's
inside
cool.
of a mirror. But the rest of it is like a still photograph. It's
Oh my gosh.
That's
This is what I need.
brilliant. It's like, I'm not a photographer. I'm not a videographer. I am learning because I want to use that.
Yeah, no, and
Right.
I think that's super important to tell any freelancers out there that are thinking about a YouTube channel. I'm not a photographer either. I'm not a videographer either. I mean, unless you count taking overly filtered Instagram pictures of my children.
Okay. So here's what I'm hearing thus far. Plan
Mm-hmm.
before doing anything. Like,
Yes.
like come and don't just wake up one day and say, gosh, I think I'm gonna get on YouTube today.
No.
Like have something organized, planned, well thought out,
Right.
and time your launch. Develop and plan almost like a calendar, kind of a content calendar. I
Mhm.
heard you say consistency is everything.
Oh
Like
yes.
a timeline.
Yep. Test.
Mm-hmm.
Also, research. Lots and lots of research. You can't go into anything like this you don't want to go into it looking like a schmuck, like you don't know anything.
Right. So Jess has the paranormal website,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're definitely also into this whole genre. You're both in the Facebook groups. So the content research was done.
Mhm.
What else did you research?
A lot on my end as far as like editing wise, and YouTube, because I'm not familiar with the rules of YouTube. I'm just like, oh, let's play this and watch this. You know, I listen to other people narrate scary stories that other people write all the time, and it's just audio. But a lot of it is a lot of trial and error. I'm like, do I want to do Adobe Premiere, which is also video editing for Adobe, since I am self-taught in Photoshop, which I'd like to think that I have from 6 months ago. I am way better now.
Oh,
But
totally.
yeah, it's so cute. And then same with editing. If you look at our first video to the newest one, oh my gosh, like you're just always going to grow. So again, that goes back with don't focus on great, focus on good, because in 6 months you're going to be better than what you are. But I had to research and reach out a lot to a lot of people and say, okay, how do I make my video do this? How am I going to, the whole description on it and like all the keywords. I did end up playing around the first week with our first video on keywords and title. And I think that's what honestly helped us get noticed, because
Absolutely.
it wasn't really climbing the first week. And then when I changed it, that's when it went.
Really? What was it before and what did you change it to? What was the keyword that you think made the difference?
I put the title into parentheses, a lot of the keywords, and thanks to TubeBuddy as well, it gives you tips like, okay, use your keywords in your description and your title, but don't do it too much, because then it's like, I don't know, it's like you're cheating, I guess. I don't know, follow within the lines. So you don't want to do too many. So I changed it. I put it in parentheses. A lot of people, when they search up things like this, first thing they type in is scary stories and immediately pops up. It knows it knows exactly what you're looking for. So then I would do the keywords, scary stories to tell in the dark, or, and then you just do one that's scary and then one that's stories. And then, so it's just a lot of trial and error.
Well, trial and error, but you are testing and you're tracking the analytics. So
Absolutely.
you're not just, no pun intended. Okay, the pun is intended. You're not just stumbling around in the dark.
That's perfect.
We're pun people, so it's good.
Okay, so now this started out as fun and a passion project. Obviously, you're taking it very seriously, etc. Right. Now you are beginning to look at how to monetize it.
Yes.
We're trying to, but as per rules of YouTube, you can only have 4,000 watch minutes within the 365 days, as well as a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. So the hardest part to get there is the first part, to get to that first 1,000 and that first 4,000 views. So we are at like 700 minutes in watch time out of 4,000 that we need.
So explain that again. You have to get 4,000 minutes before you can market anything?
Yeah. So how YouTube works is that before you can even start like pairing up with anyone using AdSense or being sponsored, you have to have in 12 months, 4,000 watch minutes and 1,000 subscribers.
So that's for YouTube's partner program.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So we can monetize in other ways, which we're starting to test and play around with. We're starting, since we do have, 600 something subscribers, we are starting to talk about possible merchandise and what that looks like.
So talk a little bit about the merchandise.
Okay.
You got some great ideas.
Oh, thank you. And we have a new one that came up a couple of days ago that I'm like, okay, I got to figure out time to make this happen. Okay. So what we're doing so far is we have our logo in the font that Melinda chose for a t-shirt. And we're going to launch a Teespring campaign. Goodness, if I could speak, it would help.
Are we going to do that though? See, things change. Like we're like.
Right. So it's constantly shifting. And then also the other thing for our guests specifically, and I've got them partially done because life is crazy, is I am going to make wood burnt planchettes with our logo.
Oh, nice.
To give to our guests who are going to be on later this month. And if it goes well, and if I don't, lose all of my hair making them happen, then they may be something that, once we get further along and I can figure out what levels I want to do for Patreon, that might be something for the Patreon people. And then if they like it, then maybe it'll be something that we can launch for everybody. But I'd like low risk, small testing first. Melinda's day job is she is a super awesome screen printer for a shirt company, or actually they screen print on everything. I know, it's amazing. They're great.
It's not very common for a female to be screen printing, so I have some pretty amazing arm muscles. I'm actually wearing our logo, one of our logos right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
The back is very disturbing.
So we talked
Really?
about
Okay, so we got to see the back.
oh
Please
yeah,
show
no,
us the back.
now that you teased it, you got to do it.
Yeah.
There's
gotta
a
do it.
female part in the V of Denver. I don't know if you could see.
Turn
Oh!
north, there you go. Perfect.
Yep.
So-
Okay. That was.
So we had talked about putting in a shirt order through them.
Which I'm going to do.
Right. But we had talked about doing a bigger one beforehand. And, you know, when Melinda and I talked about it, since we are definitely like shoestring budgeting this whole project, we're making it pay for itself as it grows. I told her, I was like, I don't want to have to deal with the inventory, especially with us being in 2 separate states. And B, I don't want the front loaded cost of having all these shirts made because we don't know if they're going to sell yet.
Right.
Which in our with me being in that profession, it actually makes it easier than most people because I can easily just make a screen with our logos on it and just go grab shirts and print them and then send them out. Whereas if you are in the same boat as us where you don't have the money, Teespring would be like the perfect starting platform for that.
Right. Teespring, Printful, Redbubble, wherever
All
you
that
can get third-party shirts made.
Okay. This is a perfect transition to Patreon.
Mhm.
So for people that don't know what Patreon is, it was started by a musician who wanted to figure out a way to support indie musicians, artists, creators.
Mhm.
The hardest part for any creator, just like a freelancer, and freelancers are creators, whether
Mhm.
you're doing websites or content or copywriting or whatever.
Right.
The hardest part is the variability of income.
Mhm.
And Patreon allows people to become your patron, and you get X amount of money per month, whatever you choose. It allows you to choose X
Mhm.
amount of money per month, and you can begin to count on, or at least have a little bit more security on that income. So it sort of frees you up creatively.
Right. And I'm familiar with Patreon. One of my favorite YouTubers uses it. So when Melinda and I were talking about it, I was like, okay, I'll spearhead setting it up, but I'm sort of stuck at the moment with what we want to offer at what levels and how
So
that's
explain
going.
the levels for people that don't know.
Okay, so on Patreon, you can choose as a patron, if you want to sign up for somebody, you can choose what level of patronage you want. And so it can be as little as $1 a month. And, you know, then it's like free internet hugs. Or, or it can be, you know, up to whatever the creator sets it at. So one of my favorites has a pretty standard like $25 a month, and they're YouTube creators. And what you get from them at $25 a month is you get access to their outtakes, and you get access to some of their bigger episodes. You get them early and before they're launched on YouTube.
And this is content that you already have. Yes, you have
Exactly.
to package it.
Right.
But, you know, like you were saying, the super low risk, it pays for itself on the
Mhm.
way. So if
Mhm.
you get 100 people doing that, that's 2,500 per month. Well,
Exactly.
that's the Patreon cut, but
Right.
that's in general, right?
Right. Absolutely. So at that point, where we're at right now with that is we just need to figure out what content or whatever we want to offer and at what level of patronage. Because I really want it to be something that is valuable to our patrons, because I don't really want, you know, I don't want to cheap anybody. And then I also want it to be something that's not going to eat up all of our creative time.
Because it's very minimum. Having jobs and stuff.
Right.
Right. Okay. So let me recap.
Mhm.
Plan before doing.
Mm-hmm.
Develop a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
create content, be consistent with everything,
Yes.
Always.
right?
Yep.
And yet be flexible enough to make changes
Absolutely.
kind of on the fly.
Yep.
So you're not locked into something, but you're also not just tossing stuff up and seeing what sticks.
Absolutely.
Test, use analytics, regroup, test again, use analytics, regroup.
Right.
Yes.
Research your fool head off, and then figure out how to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's
And
our
utilize this in your business in a smart, budget conscious way.
Absolutely.
And when I say budget, I mean not just finances. I heard you say a couple things that fall
Mm-hmm.
into the budget category. One, of course, is cash.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is time,
Absolutely.
both of which are finite.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to, get $1,000 worth of swag and then have it sitting in your garage.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. And I also, would like to maintain that whole work-life balance. I don't want to put in 8 billion hours on this project just to, never see my children or husband. Because I kind of like them. I like to hang out with them now and again.
I think I'm doing that where I work and then I don't see my children or husband. Honestly, because last night it was like, okay, mom's home from work, put a pizza in the oven, put my headphones on, editing videos. Like they're downstairs watching YouTube or in their room watching YouTube. I don't see them because I'm putting so much time and effort and I don't sleep. We both don't sleep.
No, never.
I'll see that she's up and I'm like, hey.
But that also brings up a really good point. I mean, you don't want that to be your life forever and ever with no payoff.
No.
Right? But at the beginning of any project, you're crazy if you say, well, I've been working on this project for 8 hours and I'm going to stop now. That's the employee mentality. Some
Mhm.
days, honestly, are 12, 16, 18-hour days. You do what needs to be done. But then, like I was telling Jess earlier today, I took today off because
So did I.
our favorite, thank you, by the way,
You're welcome.
our favorite indie band is in town, and I cook them a vegetarian meal so that they can go on the road with good, healthy vegetarian food.
That's wonderful.
I wouldn't be able to do, West African peanut soup. Fabulous recipe.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's really good. And lentil soup and vegan spring rolls.
Ooh.
That all sounds amazing.
I'll send them to Melinda so we can add that in with the pizza.
Yay!
A little salad and a spring roll.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. When you're new to running your own business, you definitely, long hours are part of the game. But if you're willing to put all the work in when you begin, then you can, maybe step back to banker's hours.
Which
once
honestly,
it's up on its own.
I heard something, and it's actually from my bosses because I work for a small business, ran by 2 best friends. What do you call a person that what is it? That avoids working 8 hours a day? An entrepreneur. Like,
I love that.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, to avoid the whole 8-hour mentality, you're putting in, there could be 16 hours in a day that, well, between Jess and I, like, we're writing our stories. There are times where, I think it's our 3rd episode, I wrote that possession story and literally after I finished it, went and recorded it. It was a lot of fun.
That's what I did with My Monster too. I finished it that morning and then went and did hair and makeup and then recorded.
Mm-hmm. So that's another great point. Don't let great be the enemy of good and stop you.
Exactly.
So tips for freelancers that are thinking about whether or not they're thinking about a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
They have gotten some solid advice, solid tips, like sort of how-tos, and
Mhm.
a lot of fun.
Gosh, I hope so.
What is final thoughts for people in the No Pants Project open community who are looking and saying, hey, I've been thinking about doing this. This show was inspired by a woman who said, I'm in the gamer community and I would love to do live streaming of gaming, but I don't know how to do it. But other people do it because I watch it on YouTube. And so that and Jess piped up, and that's how all of this interview came to be, because I'm like, really? Can you tell people how to do that? And she goes, yes, we can.
So I think the most important takeaways for anybody who's thinking about going into any freelancing or creative endeavor, do your research and then just do it. Don't be held back. Like the lady who commented was saying that she felt like she missed the curve on learning and she felt like she was too old. Like, dude, I am 36 years old and on YouTube. Like, just do it. There is room for everybody. Like, just go for it. Like, don't worry about.
Can we get the Shia LaBeouf meme? Just do it.
Yes. But no, just commit to what it is you want to do and go for it. And don't feel like that you're going to be held back because you don't have thousands of dollars in, recording equipment as it applies to us. Don't feel like if you want to get into content writing that you have to have a master's of arts degree in fine writing. Of course you don't need any of that. Just do it. Do your research and then make the leap. So I guess it's think about what you want to do, but also be ready to shoot from the hip and make it work.
My tips would be ask for help.
Yes.
That's a big one. So for the lady that wanted to do game streaming, I also do, on top of this, I do nerd stuff. So a lot of the nerds in my group do game streaming. And again, it's like, if I wanted to do something like that, like or if you know someone, don't be afraid to reach out. Actually, half the reason I got our guests on here is because I just said, you know what? What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. And they don't know me, but I would reach out. So if you want to do gaming, I would suggest just kind of reaching out, finding little communities like that and say, hey, how did you get started? And then don't worry about if you're pretty or if you're witty or if you're rich. Like, at least set together, like, your timeline and do your research and then just go for it. Like, the internet is a cruel place and we are aware that we're going to get made fun of eventually or yelled at because people think we're cheating. But it's a good thing because you're getting noticed. So and Jess has to ground me a lot because I'm a very emotional person. She's like, it's good. We're getting noticed. So get a support person too. Someone that can help support you.
I think that's a huge thing. In the No Pants Project, I have just flamed out on a couple of things and I'm like, no. I mean, I couldn't get the Zoom to connect with the Facebook Live open community, right? Mm-hmm. So we're doing this as a recorded show instead of live. Immediately after ending, I am getting on the phone on private message, and I'm saying, okay, who's going to help me figure this out? Right. Because it worked yesterday. It didn't work today. Now, what do we need to do and fix it? So yeah, you've got to have some people in there who say, oh, it's okay.
And also it's not what you know, it's who you know as well. So, I mean, your knowledge goes a little bit, but then when you have somebody that they've learned on their own, like if you can research that or reach to them, then they can help you. And then eventually, like us, we can help someone else. So it's just kind of like a domino effect of helping hands.
I love that. I love that. And that is what we're doing in the No Pants Project open community. To both of you, Melinda Prince, thank you so much. Thank you for taking your day off to be here with us. I really, really appreciate it. Jess Collinell, thank you very much.
Of course.
To both of you. I'm excited. You do great work. Your
Thank you.
stories are scary and they're
Thank
creepy
you.
and they're fun.
Also,
Thank you.
can I like do a shout out?
Absolutely.
If anyone in the community does do short, scary stories, send it to us. Like email us, and then we'll read it for you, and then we will link you. Like I said, artists helping support other artists. So if you have an awesome story, send it to us. We would love to read it, and then it will send others your way.
So the channel on YouTube is Nightmare Nocturne. What's the email?
Nightmare Nocturne Podcast at gmail.com.
Which
Say it
just
again.
highlights that we changed things up.
I know.
But we do also have our platforms. I forgot to mention this. Again, research. I have our platform. It's not just on YouTube. We use this thing called Anchor, which shoots just the audio out to all these different podcast platforms. So we have Spotify, we have Breaker, we have Stitcher, we have iTunes, we have Google Podcasts, we have Pocket Casts, we have Public Radio. And actually I'm watching those analytics and they are climbing right now.
Really? So where, obviously you started at 0. So where are they now?
117 listens between all 5 of the episodes that we have.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, and they're all climbing. The first one is at like 34 listens, I want to say, and everything else is like in the 20s range.
And every time, as long as you see that upward trajectory, you know things are good. So when you set up Anchor, do you have to reset up all of those different platforms? Spreaker, Spotify?
Nope, it does it for you. That's the beautiful thing about Anchor. It's free. You don't need an RSS link or anything because it already creates one for you. You just, which is, I don't understand that stuff. Like I can do the creative editing and everything, but then everything else I send over to Jess. I'm like, you figured this out because this is your strength right here. But I'll just rip the audio from all these videos, and so I have a different file for it. And what I do is I upload it to the platform. It's totally free, which is even better. And then it takes about, I would say, a week before it's on every platform. So it has it. And so when I go to look at the analytics, it tells me which platform has all the different plays. Of course, Spotify is our biggest out of all of it. It has 54. But I'm not even promoting it. It's just, I just put it in and people are finding it on its own.
So now that you've found that out, are the two of you going to start promoting the podcast?
We have, I like the idea of keeping it as a YouTube channel, just releasing the videos, but we also have different projects and side segments that we want to do. I'm going to do just something strictly audio on a story. I'm going to bring in voice actors and just, yeah, and like make it like the podcast basically, but just audio. And then Jess is going to do her own thing, which she can explain.
What are you going to do, Jess?
Are you talking about the campfire stories?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so again, I lived in a fifth wheel for a couple of months, and my family was super huge into camping, although after living in a fifth wheel, never again.
It was scary.
It was really, really great. No, so like one of my favorite things to do would, be tell ghost stories around the campfire. So I want to, invoke that same thing and just do an audio because, you really can't hold the flashlight under your chin for YouTube and have it not look ridiculous. So want to do just the audio on that and tell, like some of my favorite campfire stories.
I love that. I can't wait to do another interview with the two of you in the spring.
That would be awesome.
Because I think we're going to be talking to you on a regular basis. Like every quarter, we'll check in and we'll say, how's the nightmare going?
Hopefully beautifully.
This was fabulous. Thank you both so very much. And thank you to all of you for supporting the No Pants Show here in the No Pants Open Community on Facebook, where more than 18,000 freelancers gather to share stories, experience, give tips, meet fabulous people who are doing fabulous things like Melinda and Jess. Thank you both so much, and go be scary.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. And oh, we have to do it, Jess.
Oh, yeah, no, we totally do. So our big sign off, sleep tight, little monsters.
Sleep tight, little monsters.